Welcome to the School Garden Talk Story session. We'll start in a couple of minutes as some people tend to join in a little bit late. In the meantime, just to do brief introductions, my name is Jennifer. I'm the School Garden Coordinator at Department of Education. And Kathy, who's our Zoom host today, is from Hawaii Public Health Institute and the Hawaii Farm to School Network. We do have some special guest speakers. I'll introduce them in a couple of minutes. Actually, I might as well do that now. So Kathleen Howe, also you may know her as Kay, is the education coordinator at the University of Hawaii Hilo, the Daniel K. Inouye College of Pharmacy, UHH, DKICP is the acronym, Jarvie Lab. And then Christopher Meehan is a GIS analyst and operations planner at the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. And Wendy Baker from Hawaii Island School Garden Network and Hawaii Farm to School Network Professional Development and Curriculum Circle. And then let's use our chat to get to know who else is here. If you could please type your name, school or organization, and the island that you live on so that we get to know each other. Welcome, Kihei, from Hawaii Green Growth on Hawaii Island. We got a lot of Hawaii Island in the house tonight. And maybe a little bit later, we'll have some more opportunities for question and answer and to get to know each other. So to let you all know that this meeting is being recorded so that we can post it online for people who weren't able to attend in person today. And let me pass it over now to our guest speaker, Kathleen Howe.
Okay, well, I'm going to just jump right in and share my screen with you. So here we go. So all these other little things going on. So this is kind of who we are that are involved in this effort to map invasive slugs and snails in Hawaii. So Franny Brewer and Christopher Meehan, they're both from Big Island Invasive Species Council, Leidy Bernal, Jennifer Ryan, Deborah Milliken, Wendy Baker, and myself. We've been working together for a number of years on education and rat lungworm disease prevention. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the resources that we have and why we're doing this. And then Christopher is going to tell you about this app that we've made that you can see here kind of on this slide. So why are we doing this? This is the only map that has been made that shows locations of Parmarian martensi, the semi-slug, and that's the slug that is really associated with rat lungworm disease. It's got unusual behavior and carries really high parasite loads. And so we really want to update the map, not just for Hawaii Island, but for the whole state, and try to see where that slug is and also give you an opportunity to use the app and use it for other slugs and snails as well. This just shows how well teachers can help us with mapping. One of our teachers in a professional development class was the first one to report the semi-slug being found in North Kohala. It had not been found there. And so teachers and students really are eyes on the ground and sentinels for detection. So we want to have you guys be citizen scientists to help us map the slug and then also to help share the education and information to help prevent rat lungworm disease. And so all of the materials I'm going to show you are available online and you're able to use them. Big Island Invasive Species Council has quite a number of different things. They have a video extensive resources. I work with Dr. Susan Jarvie, been working with her since 2012, and we have extensive resources as well. One of the things that we have, and I'm only going to show a very short clip of this, this is a claymation of the rat lungworm life cycle because it's complicated. Jump
Rats come out. Darkness falls. Some creatures, such as rats, come out of hiding. They will leave behind rat poop. Slugs and snails come out at night too, and they like to eat rat poop. And rats will eat slugs and snails. But there may be another creature here that we cannot see, and that is the rat lungworm. Just what is this rat lungworm? Well, it's a lungworm of rats. But its life cycle involves slugs and snails too.
So that's just kind of a fun way to show the life cycle. We've used clay as a way for kids to create life cycles, and that 3D experience is really helpful. Let's see. I got to go to the next slide. I want my next slide. There we go. So this is a second grade activity book that we made with second grade teachers. It has all the basics, including how to make a slug jug. It's available to print it as a PDF online. You can download the whole book for your students. And then we created a more advanced curriculum with an integrated pest management plan of controlling slugs and snails in school gardens. The kids can learn how to do this and take the information home as well. So we made all these lesson plans, and the one that I want to kind of show you a little quick thing is this number 2 that talks about slugs and snails and integrated pest management for control of them. So all of our lessons start out and we look at some of the standards that can be addressed. We've had everyone from kindergarten to high school, 12th grade, use this lesson and adapt it to their students. So we talk about standards, we talk about what is integrated pest management, how to use it at the school. We talk about making shelters for the slugs and snails to go under, so it makes it easier for you to collect them and control them. How to dispose of them, making a slug jug, and then just some suggested activities. So every one of those lessons are available online for you guys to use in the classroom. We made a story map. I made a story map about the experience. I'm going to come back after Christopher presents about the app, and I'll just describe a little bit about what a story map is. This is basically just a screenshot of it, but it is available online. And again, this is another resource for how to control slugs and snails. And then we're really showcasing the ArcGIS software, which is available to all schools free of charge. And it's a really cool software. I'm going to turn it over to Kris now because Christopher is the GIS specialist at Big Island Invasive Species Council. Kris uses this software all the time, and it's a really exciting, really cool software, and it's a really big part of STEM or STEAM education. So, Kris, I'm gonna hand it over to you if you'd like to go ahead and take it. I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'll let Kris show you about this cool new app to help us map.
All right. How's it, everybody? Let me get the presentation up. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on the platform, and then I'll show you the map form, the reporting form, and then the map. So just of note here, it's my email address. As we go through, if you guys are interested in using the form and the map, and you have any questions or want more information, feel free to email me. So just Esri and ArcGIS generally, Esri was founded in 1969 as a little small like command line program. It's now a huge program that's basically the standard for spatial data visualization and analysis across tons of different fields: government, oil and gas, business, intelligence, which is like, where do you put a new Costco? That kind of analysis all uses spatial data. And then of course, conservation and all the sciences. They have like a desktop computer app, but then they also, more usefully for other people, have a web-based platform called ArcGIS Online, which is really neat because it's a way that you can store data, store data sets up there, and then you can include them into a whole bunch of different products. You can make story maps like Kay mentioned, you can make maps, you can use the same building blocks over and over again. So it makes for some neat project opportunities. It's not free, but like Kay said, free licenses are available. It's kind of a cool opportunity in that it's not that often that educational users can use literally the same products that like large companies and governments do. It's the same thing. So that's kind of a neat window into how a lot of things work. This is the website that Esri has specifically for K-12 educators. There's also a ton of resources on there. So if you guys want to learn more, you can check that. More specifically with the slug and snail mapping, this is the form that we've come up with to see if we can get some citizen science reporting. Oops. For semi-slugs and then for some other things too. It's a web-based form. You can use it offline if you have the need to use it somewhere that's doesn't have data. You can download the free Survey 123 app onto your mobile device from Esri, and then you can download the form, fill out the form somewhere that doesn't have data access and like bring it back to the school or wherever has Wi-Fi. So that's an opportunity, but usually you would just use the web form because it's easy. You just click and go. You don't need a login. You just use the map to mark the location and fill in as much information as you have or can. There are two versions of the form. There's one that's really designed more for school use. That one doesn't require you send a photograph, and it also doesn't require any actual contact information. And then there's a community form that requires that you send a photograph with it. And if you report a semi-slug, it'll ask you for information. You still don't have to provide information either way. So I can show you what that looks like. So this is what it looks like live, yeah? So it'll open up, if you're on a mobile device that has your location enabled, it'll show you hopefully fairly close to where you are. If you have like a desktop computer, it could be anywhere. So you can just move the map around and then you just click to show where you are, yeah? The date, this is the school version of the form. So reporter name, teacher name, school name. These are just like type in any kind. And then you just fill out the information. The only thing that's required is the species. So if that's all the kids really want to fill out, or if you want to make just a really quick report, can. But then there's a lot more information, especially for the school form, for if you want to, you know, take out a school class to go do some kilo and also put some reporting in. So you can put in, you know, time of day, information, all this, and then a little section on the weather, both now and generally. Like I said, the school version doesn't require a photo, but you can always submit a photo if you would like to, and then you just click submit. And it'll say hollow. And then you can look at the data dashboard, which is where all the data goes to. Both the community form and the school form share the same pool of data. Oh, also, if you don't know what slug or snail species it is as you're filling out the form, it's fine for people just to take their best guess. And there's also a link to this page that has pictures. So okay, so here's the dashboard, and it has this interactive map of where people make reports. As long as you're on cellular or Wi-Fi data, the report will go in pretty much immediately. You'll be able to see it almost instantly, which is kind of fun for the kids. You can see stuff come in and then see it be in the map pretty quickly. So if I refresh it, it might show. So you can, zoom around. They're symbolized in different colors, so you can click and get information on what we're seeing. You can look at a picture if somebody turned in a picture. You can see who submitted it. And then you can also filter the data. There isn't any school names or teacher names because it's not used yet. But you can filter by those once they're in there. So teachers and schools can look just at their own data. And then you can also, just look at specific species if you want to. So those are all options. And then you can look at a couple little charts. And then you can see details about each one in the list, see where it's located. Oh, this is the one that I just put in. So you can see what I put in for the photo was actually the QR code. So that's about it for the fun interactive parts. If for some reason you want to do more with the data, it's possible to pull the data out of this. This is publicly accessible data. You can go to this data reports table. Again, it'll show you the filtered data. This is like filtered by geographic location because I've zoomed in this far that this is the only report. And then if you want to get some data, you can just click the button. It'll give it to you in a table, and then you can open it and do whatever analysis you want to, or just look at it. The other thing that the dashboard has is behind the map, there's this how-to tab. So if anybody has questions about how to work things, that's where that is. And if you have more questions, then you can just email me and it'll be fine. So that's it, I guess. Let me unshare my screen. Hopefully it's like relatively intuitive. If it's not, let me know, because that was the goal.
That's so cool. I mean, it's such a career connection for kids, this software, it really is. So that's one of the reasons that I like using it. And that's why we've incorporated it into our curriculum. I'm going to real quickly show you, I'm going to try to show you here a story map that I have made. Let me see if I can get this to come up. Boy, there's so much junk in the way. Okay, so this is a story map. Can you see this, everybody? Is that a yes?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. So this is a story map, and it's a cool way to tell a story, use pictures, use mapping. So this was about the pilot project that I did with 5 schools on Hawaii Island. And we developed the curriculum from this. So it kind of shows you, I'm going to go through this really quick, but this is a resource as well. This is published. You can find this online. So here I was able to show the locations of the schools, why I picked them. This talks about all of the different traps or shelters, I should say, that we used to test to slugs and snails will follow each other's slime trails, and they look for cool, moist places to hang out during the hot part of the day. And so we tested different types of materials. And so then I go into each different school. You can, when you put in a pin, you can get these pop-ups that you can talk more about the school. We looked at what species were found at the different schools, and then we did charts and graphs to show. In this school, we collected well over 2,000 different slugs and snails, especially the European garden snail. And then I did this with each one of the schools. And so we were able to see, I had high elevation, I had mid elevation, I had low elevation schools, and you could see how the species changed. At the mid-elevation schools, you had some low elevation and some high elevation species. So this just gives you an idea of what you can do with a story map. It's pretty cool software. I get kids to work in teams on pages. We talk about slug jugs. These are some of the posters that kids made. And a little bit about, how you can integrate all of the components of STEAM into your work. So that's what a story map is. And I really encourage any of you to try them. I'm happy to help guide you with them. It's really cool to see teachers get started using this. I mean, we've done a number of professional development courses now with teachers using this curriculum. And when we ask at the beginning, do you use ArcGIS? Have you ever heard of it? And almost 100%, it's like, no, I've never heard of it and I've never used it. So it's a really cool new technology. The reporting app uses what they call Survey 1, 2, 3. These are all components of the ArcGIS Online that are available to you. So Survey 1, 2, 3, the dashboard, the mapping, and the story mapping. These are all things that we're really working on a more advanced curriculum to get teachers more comfortable with using them, because once you learn how to use them, and we're going to use rat lungworm as the introduction, you and your students then can look at any type of other invasive species or any other issue that you would want to investigate. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Kay and Kris. That was really informative, and I can't wait to play more on the app. And now we'll have Wendy.
Awesome. Aloha kako. I am Wendy Baker, and I'm coming to you from Hawaii Academy of Arts and Science Public Charter School here in Pahoa on the Big Island of Hawaii. And really happy to be here today. I'm here as a partner supporter of Kay Howe, who I've known for some time. And I've worked with her, well, we were first friends, and then I took her professional development course some time ago when Franny and she taught it, and loved it and loved the insights it gave me into my students. I didn't realize that one of my students, his dad had rat lungworm. So we opened up like a whole discussion and a great new insight for me as a teacher into this student and the responsibilities that he had to bear. And then I began co-teaching the class with Franny and Kay. And I did that for a few times, like 2 times we ran it through. And it was in 2021 when I was co-teaching that class that I actually contracted the disease. So since then, now it's 2024, like 3 years in, I'm a survivor of rat lungworm and have been dealing with the long-term effects of rat lungworm. So I'm here just kind of as a primary source to help if anybody has any questions about it, but also just as a cautionary tale. Like I'm at the school, I am a history teacher, but I also run the garden elective. So I teach this stuff. I teach the kids like how to wash their vegetables. I teach them about rat lungworm. I'm so careful and cautious about it all the time. When I actually finally got diagnosed and figured out what it is that I had, about 10 days into the symptoms, my husband was like, if you can get this, anybody can get this. And so that's really where I want to promote some more prevention, is like catching it quickly, like just knowing the symptoms and listening to the people around you, like Kay, who's like, anybody who has any symptoms should take an antiparasitic right away. And I didn't do that. And so it's the longer that you wait, the more severe the symptoms are. So just really learning to listen and to know some of the symptoms. So what I hope that you guys gain is an ability to learn from somebody with primary source, but also just to know that Kay is such a good resource, Franny's such a good resource. We have such rich resources and knowledge in our community, and so any questions that you have, we're here to help. Let's see. I guess I could start off just by saying I don't know, where do you guys want to go? Let's see. How about if in the chat you guys give me some indications? Do you guys want to hear a little bit more about the professional development or the symptoms to look for? I mean, my mission is kind of to teach the symptoms, and it looks like Jennifer Ryan asked, what symptoms do we look for? So, yep, looks like symptoms. Okay, so we'll go with that way first. So first of all, I think the telltale symptoms, and Kay, Franny, please feel free to hop in and support and add. But the first thing I had was like a tingling sensation, like it's a nerve disease, right? So the parasite's going to travel through your digestive tract. So I inadvertently put a slug in my mouth at some point, and the worms travel down into your gut. They chew through your gut into your they're trying to make their way to their brain. So then the worms will swim up your spinal column, and they're chewing through your nerve tissues. So the nerve tissues, you're going to have all sorts of symptoms. I at first thought I had shingles. I've had shingles once before, so that's what I thought it was. So I took an antiviral. So it was like tingling sensation, migratory nerve pain, fatigue. So those were some of the first symptoms. And then the fatigue, and then a weakness in limbs, and the headaches started. And the headaches were super severe, like where I would fall down, kind of like if I didn't sit down, I would fall down. They just crept up in the back of the head and just swept over me. And the migratory nerve pain got pretty severe. It's like part of a patch of skin, a dermatome, is like on fire. So something is like starts over here, and it just like is like oil spilled on you, and it's caught fire, and you're just like all of a sudden just incredible pain. And then it'll go away, and then it'll start up somewhere else, and it's just like never really predictable about when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And then I did lose ability for a little bit, a couple times, to be able to move my limbs or to walk appropriately across the room. I needed support for walking across the room. And it was like a back and forth with my doctor, and it was during COVID times, 2021. So we were trying to diagnose online, and finally she squeezed me in the afternoon. And luckily, Dr. Strong is very familiar with this disease, and she knew what I had right away and prescribed me the medicine right away. And I was able to take it that same day, which is not always available. That's another thing that we need to get better at in our world, is that we have albendazole available, like immediately available anywhere, all the time. Yeah. The pharmacy wanted me to wait like 10 days before they gave it to me. So another 10 days, could have been much different scenario than what you guys are looking at right now. So many people, after they get this disease, are not able to recover. And so I'm really glad that that it wasn't as severe, and that I had the support that I needed when I contracted the disease. And Kay's been a huge help in helping me to understand what was happening. I have another friend, Argon Steele, who's an expert, who called me every day and helped just talk me through it. He's also a Buddhist, so he was helping me deal with some of the pain and frustration. And and a great family too, who was able to support me and to let me just rest. I was basically bedridden for about 6 weeks, and I got pretty thin, lost a lot of muscle mass. I've gained it all back now, so I'm all fine. And this is my my year 2024 is the hope that I get rat lungworm out the door. I'm actually taking a trip to Japan to try to soak in some of the onsens up in the north and just get those last little bits. So that's a rough down of my primary experience here. Great strategies for prevention. I'm very vigilant now so far as well, I always was before too, but I triple wash all of my greens, right? My doctor tells me don't eat local greens. I still do because I grow them, and so I'm going to eat them. So, triple washing and inspecting, very careful inspection. And then laying out after I spin the salads dry, and then I lay them out on a towel, and each leaf separate on a towel, and check each leaf again. So it gets washed 3 times, and then it gets inspected like 5 times. And hopefully get just the lettuce dry, so it's 100% dry. The nematode is not as likely to live in dry conditions as wet conditions. So you're trying to kill the parasite and not allow it to live. And then controlling for the rats and slugs both in your environment. So I do active control of rats, just live bait traps and slug jugs. So since we've been doing that very vigilantly at our house, we've had a marked decline of semi-slugs. The African snails are still pretty big. They come in waves, it seems like. I'm starting to learn their behaviors a little bit. So if I catch them early, I go out every morning early, first thing, do a little slug check around the greenhouse, check the perimeters. And it's pretty rare that I find them, but it's like maybe a couple times after these big rains, like this past week, there was one event where I caught like a half a dozen, and then I used the app, and I reported it. Yeah, they can't really see it, but that's the poster that Kay made and shared, and so that was so easy with the bit.ly, just clicked right on there and reported the findings from the slugs and the snails that I found at my house. Yeah, and it's really cool to see and to be able to use it. So far as like a little bit on the professional development side, teachers that have used this have said that it's authentic learning. They're super stoked. All the kids get involved. They have 100% participation with their kids. It's very visceral. Kids are really interested in knowing what they can do to help. And people take it home too. So which is really important, anything we can do to minimize this disease is really important. This past year, there's been a couple toddlers on our island, in our neighborhood, our community, that have contracted the disease. And it's horrible to imagine little kids who can't even express how they're feeling, and just that they're living through this kind of extreme pain and weakness is really, really hard. Yeah, so the more that we can do, the better to help to prevent the spread of this disease. Yeah, any other questions?
And I see that Franny posted in the chat to a webinar about rat lungworm and integrated pest management for future reference. We have a relatively small group today, so I was thinking instead of doing our small breakout rooms, that maybe we would stay together and just kind of continue the question and answer. We also, kind of want to learn from from other participants, like if they have any experience with rat lungworm disease prevention, identification of those vectors, strategies to prevent rats and slugs, and what's working and what's been challenging, what are the resources that are available, all of that. So I'll stop talking. And so anyone else, you can open your mic or you can use the chat to ask questions.
Yeah, I'm curious about what brought you all here today. I'm here just because I'll do anything that Kay and Franny are doing. Those guys are amazing ladies. So yeah. Also happy here to support School Garden Talk Story and Jennifer too.
Yeah, I just want to point out again too that, I mean, we know that the slug is pretty much all around Hawaii Island, although it hasn't been mapped. And we don't know if it's elevation limited. We know it's up in Mountain View, but we don't know if it's in Volcano or Waimea, where a lot of cool weather crops are grown. We know it's on Oahu, but it's never been mapped to show where. We know it's on Maui. We found that out when a whole bunch of people started getting sick, and I just was like, maybe it's there. And then I put it on Facebook, and sure enough, it was. So that semi-slug in particular is really associated with an increase in disease. It's got weird behavior, gets into things, it climbs into things, a really tiny piece. I mean, they always say, oh, you have to eat a slug. You don't. A tiny piece can contain so many hundreds of worms that can make you really, really sick. I mean, on the Jarvie website and on the BIS website, there's all kinds of research papers about transmission in water and beverages. There's just like a wealth of information, but we really do want to know, where is it? Is it on Molokai? Has it made it to Molokai? Has it made it to Kauai? When we put it out to Maui and said, hey, you've got the semi-slug, they got on it right away. Hana people, that's kind of where they had the outbreak. And they got on it, and they had free rat traps and, really, really started working to control the slug. And it's helped lower cases for sure. So if we know where it is, that's where we can target our prevention efforts. And that's where we can target telling the teachers you guys are great to work with, because the outreach is so great. You work with 20 to 30 kids or whatever, they take that home to their family, and it's exponential education.
I remember, Kay, that you said in your pilot project that you tried a variety of different slug shelters. And I was wondering if you could go over kind of what are the characteristics of those shelters? Because it seems like a fairly easy strategy to implement in a school garden.
It's super easy and it's really cheap. We tested 5 different shelter types, cardboard, a raised wooden board, plastic, weed cloth, and then we made like an insulated tarp out of like a tarp, basically a reflective tarp with a piece of insulation. So they were all 2 foot by 2 foot. We found that different species like different things. Like the semi-slug loves hard plastic. They really like a tarp. I mean, we've used tarps for shelters for them. The thing that you do is you put a shelter out. Sometimes we'll say put a couple pieces of cat food or dog food under it. It will attract a lot of different species. They'll start going under there, and then other ones will follow them. And so then what we do is just every couple weeks we go out, we pin it down with either like landscape pins or rocks or whatever. And every couple weeks I'd go to the schools, we'd look under the shelter, and then we would record, what did we find? We didn't have the app at that time, so we were just doing it on paper. But just for an instance, under one 2 foot by 2 foot trap, we found 52 at one time, 52 different slugs and snails. And then there's other cool stuff. There's spiders, there's centipedes, it's like biology in the garden. So it's really fun. The kids really got into it. They really liked looking under the traps and trying to figure it out. Cuban slugs really liked the cardboard, and they liked wood chips, wet wood chips. So you're trying to make like the Hilton for slugs and snails. And this is the way you start to learn about behavior, what our preference is for things. And then if you are living in an area where, you have rat lungworm has been in Hawaii ever since the 1950s, right off the bat, 2 people died of it. So it's everywhere. And if you want to really help, do something good to try to do something about this horrible disease, start controlling at home as well. You can do slug hunts, that works. Slug hunts, the kids really like doing that in the garden. It's kind of like Easter egg hunting. The kids would get to learn the more common species, and we would kind of use the scientific name and just use the first 3 letters of the genus and species name. So I'd hear the kids running around like Vernicella cubensis was ver cubs, and they're like, I got 3 ver cubs here. And it's cool. It's really cool and really fun. And it takes something that is pretty horrifying. I mean, this is a horrifying disease. There's no doubt about it. And it makes it interesting, and it makes it engaging. And with the app, we're really hoping that we can really start to see where are things, in particular, where is the semi-slug? That's the one we're really targeting. But if you don't have it, then it's nice to be able to say, oh, well, I got some African snails or some Cuban slugs. And so you can still use the app.
And I don't know, sorry to interrupt. If, Lady put in the chat, if you could also share safe practices about like not handling, not picking up the snails and slugs directly with your hands, especially with students. So
Right.
how do you pick those things up?
So one of the things I really want to encourage everybody in my presentation, all of those resources, go through and read them. That one on IPM for slugs and snails talks about safety. There's a good mouse study that shows that through skin contact, you can contract the disease. So we use tongs. We have a dedicated tongs that you maybe put a piece of orange tape or something on. A dedicated slug jug in the resources. It tells you it's a 7 parts water to 1 part salt. A big jar, like a big 1-gallon jar with a wide lid. You put them in there, leave them for a while. Some places like Honolulu, having a slug jug, you got to dump it out somewhere. On the Big Island, it's easy. Dump it in a rocky area, dump it on a gravel road. Some places it's difficult. So, and we even had one school that couldn't kill things. So we would put it into a jug or a plastic bag, and I'd take them home and put them in my freezer. So alternate to the slug jug, putting them in a plastic container and putting them in a freezer for at least 48 hours is another option. The freezing will kill the rat lungworm. So, you want to be really careful about handling them. That's the big thing.
We did slug gloves, so that we just like right across the garden glove slug glove, and then it's just that glove is only used for picking up slugs, so that you never have your bare skin. And so you have the tongs, you put on your slug gloves, you have your tongs, you get the jug, and then you take it over, and then you can pick up. And usually it's my job to do it. Like, the kids don't really like doing it, so usually as a teacher, even in high school, is like I'll do it. So there's a couple kids that'll do it, but they don't love doing it in my world. But I teach high school. Elementary kids are totally different ball of wax. Yeah. But yeah, definitely teaching the care. And then on the other end is just, again, the inspection. Just telling the kids that that they're worth only the best, so they only get the best ingredients. If you see any leaf that has any chewing on it, you don't use it, right? You just throw it all away, or you compost it. So that's like just making sure that you're really just using quality ingredients, and then inspecting every leaf, really being sure that you're careful.
Yeah, and if you see holes in plants, like if you see like your broccoli's got chew marks in it, that's a good place to put a shelter, or it's a really good place to start looking around. And what's laying around there? Is there like a stone tile, or is there a log, or is there something? You get pretty good at looking and finding, because during the daytime, they're gonna be under something, hiding out from the sun. European garden snails are a little different. We found them like under the rim of big black plastic tanks that people were using. I taught at Kanuoka-Aina, and a couple years later, they were one of my partner schools, and I had never seen the European garden snail when I started there, when I taught there, and when I went back a couple years later and did the pilot project, that snail was everywhere. It was unbelievable. They were smashed on the ground. They were eating all the native plants. We removed over 5,000. I can't even remember, but it was huge. I'd take the senior class and we'd go out and collect 100 at a time. So you're really protecting your plants and your health. So, slugs and snails are garden pests and you should control for them. Baits you can use, but baits are expensive and the rain washes them away. So I really like just using the shelters. It's cheap, it's fun, it's easy, and they tend to, kind of come together under there and you get a bunch at once.
And you mentioned that freezing kills rat lungworm disease. What about heat? If you cook your produce, does that eliminate the risk of rat lungworm disease?
Cooking, if you're growing something and you're really worried about like getting it, cook it. Cooking, freezing for 48 hours, drying. Argon Steel did the studies on how long they could live under dry conditions. The parasite itself can live a long time under wet conditions. I had them alive in water for 3 weeks and then I killed them. And that was the infective stage. But in dry conditions, they die in 3 minutes. So if you have, fruit, wash it. I always tell the kids it makes it look way more, just beautiful. I call it the really slow food movement. And it gives you time to really appreciate your food. If you have strawberries in your garden, I have the kids look under the leaves because it's amazing how a small juvenile can be. At one of the schools, I picked a cherry tomato, and if I hadn't turned it around and looked, and if I just popped it in my mouth, I would have eaten a juvenile Cuban slug. So being observant, and that's part of science, observation. But washing things, anything that's washable that you can dry, and that's why Wendy says, she tries to get her lettuce as dry as she possibly can, because I don't want to limit people. I mean, I love gardening, I love farming, I love supporting local farms, and I love supporting school gardens. It's just, in Hawaii, we have to be careful because this disease is just so hard to recover from if you do.
And then
Yeah.
while we have people have questions about the reporting app or Kris, based on our conversations, if there's anything that you want to go in more detail about, like how you develop the school reporting process.
Sure, I can talk about that a little bit. I mean, I just developed it because Kay asked me to. But at this point, it's kind of got 2 different tracks. So if it's general community members, it's great to get data from them. And then I'm really interested to see the school side sort of fill out too. I think that'll be a really cool opportunity. It has a very tight like data loop. You collect the data, you can see the data collected almost instantly. You can look at what other people have collected. So it's just kind of neat. People like maps, and it's kind of a good example too for school kids of data literacy too, because like if your other school students are putting in bad reports, then you can like it's on a map and it looks official, and then you click on it and you're like, this is not good data. So it's kind of been a useful thing to learn. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what everybody puts in. If people start using it and have questions, like I said, definitely feel free to get in touch with me. If you have requests for changes or improvements, do that too, because it can, change and grow if people use it and find it useful.
I'm realizing I don't have your slide presentation. So if you can make sure to send it to me afterwards, and then I will send it out to everybody who registered for today.
And I think that's one of the things that Kris brought up too, is that a teacher, tell your kids they're being citizen scientists. And so accurate data is really important. We beta trialed this app with our last PDE course, which was actually over a year ago. And all of a sudden Molokai had reports of the semi-slug, and I was like, whoa. And it was some kids goofing around, and Kris could tell by, what they wrote on it and that kind of thing. But on the other hand, if there was something there, and if we have a point, a geo point, then we could send like one of the other ISCs out to vet it. So if like all of a sudden somebody says, hey, there's semi-slugs on the west end of Maui, and we really wanted to see, like, are there really semi-slugs there? Then we could send somebody from the Maui Invasive Species Council there, or up in Waimea on the Big Island or Volcano. We could, somebody could go up there and start looking for them. So you guys play a big role, and let the kids know this is real science. This, if we can map, and please share this with other teachers that we're going to share it around. This is something that we'll end up publishing, because there simply isn't anything on this right now. So it's pretty cool. You guys are breaking ground with us.
It's very cool, and as a teacher too, it's just like it gives students a sense of kuleana, of responsibility, yeah, and also helps to incorporate some Hawaiian values to, like careful observation, making sure that you know your environment, knowing that they have the abilities, like they see things that we don't, right? So they've got those young, fresh eyes close to the ground, and they're able to contribute. And so it makes them be protectors of their communities and contributors to their communities. So it gives them a strength of purpose and a belonging. So that helps to fulfill our HAWS standards as well. Yeah, great work, you guys. Thank you.
Yes, thanks again to all of our presenters. Do any of the other participants have questions or experiences that you can share about what you've done around slugs and snails?
And rats. Don't forget the rats. Yeah, they're part of it too.
Yeah, the rats are something that we don't cover in the integrated pest management. Usually schools have the maintenance guys usually control for rats, but if needs be, I mean, I've definitely trapped rats at my own house, and Wendy does, and I know up at Mala'ai they control for rats. So if that's something that you want to integrate into it, we can help you with that.
Great. Well, maybe we'll wrap up for today. I really appreciate the presentations, and I see that there's also information in the chat. So I'll follow up too with you, Kris, on the materials for the app. Oh wait, I see from Michelle, interested in trapping, tracking, and reporting. Oh, good. Pre-K to adult, yes. So it's good to get everyone involved in improving awareness of rat lungworm disease, and then also I like your idea of like fostering responsibility, right? That even our youngest ones, sometimes they're close to the source, their eyes are really strong, and they can be the detectors, and then go get the adult to come help them take care of whatever that hazard is. Well, thanks again, everybody. And this concludes actually our School Garden Talk Story sessions for the fall semester. So stay tuned for next semester. we'll release that information in the next couple of months. So thanks everybody and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Jennifer.